We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Friday. It is Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. First of all, I will tell you, it may look a little different what you're seeing here. And it's because basically I went out and got some different equipment. I have a new computer, a laptop this time, maybe an extra light. I got another microphone. It's the same as the other one because I like the sound of it for what it was. So it's a little different setup, but it works pretty well. I took the other setup, put it in our second bedroom in case something happens. My wife can use it. And um, if something goes wrong with this, I can always go back there and do it too. Just trying to cover my ass. I'm doing this on Thanksgiving night, and I went over to some family's home on Thanksgiving. Had a great time. Saw my daughter in law, who is now pregnant, saw my son, saw my granddaughter, saw my niece and her husband, saw their kids, my brother in law and sister in laws, two sister in laws. Had a good time. We only saw my wife's side of the family this year. Usually we go to both, but there's so many things going on and kids go in separate ways. It makes it kind of difficult to organize everything. Christmas, we'll be all together at one point or another and we'll have to bop around a lot, but it's always fun, especially when you've got kids involved. Um, there was one Trump humper at this Thanksgiving I went to. Uh, my wife told me to be quiet, and I really don't talk about politics unless somebody brings it up. I don't need to. I've got plenty of things to talk about, as you well know. Um, and as long as the other one doesn't bring it up, we cool. And it went pretty cool. It was fine, and that's the way it should go. Politics plays too much of a part of our lives right now, just so we can get through the bullshit we're going through. We should be able to take a day or two and just not discuss that shit. Last thing I need to talk about on Thanksgiving Day is Donald motherfucking Trump. Um, some other good news. By the time you listen to this, it'll be Friday, Black Friday. A lot of people out shopping. Most of the people I knew do it online. But my granddaughter's coming over and we're going to go swimming today. So that should be fun. She, uh, she and I kind of go at it in the pool, splashing each other. She has fun. I have fun just hanging out with her. So that should be a good day. Um, I did do a couple of TikToks, three TikToks today, and I was not really interested in talking about Donald Trump, but I thought there were some things that needed to be talked about. There's all this conversation about the tariffs. Donald Trump comes in and he's Mr. Tough Guy, and he says, first day of my presidency, I'm going to impose 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico. Well, as you know, that's troublesome because we get oil from uh, Canada, and we get vehicles and auto parts, among other things, from Mexico. So this is problematic. And people always say, "Do you think you'll do it?" And I always say, "No, I don't think you will." And there's a couple of reasons for it. One you've heard me say before, and the other one you haven't, but it needs to be told. I don't think it's going to happen because the Republicans in and around him realized how damaging it could be to the economy. And while maybe Donald Trump doesn't give a shit, I guarantee you those politicians that have to be reelected on the midterms on 2026 are going to be concerned about it. They're going to pull the reins in on a little bit on Donald Trump. But the other part of it is what I've said before. Donald Trump is a dumb motherfucker. He's incompetent. He is a fool. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know how to do it. He doesn't think about what he's doing. He just says shit. He's doing what bullies do, get in people's faces and make threats and hope that they fold up and die. And that isn't really working out too well for Donald Trump at this point. But there's something you have to understand about these tariffs and why Donald Trump will have problems implementing these tariffs. You remember when Donald Trump was president the first time around? He started messing with NAFTA. That is the trade agreements between us and Canada and Mexico. He said that NAFTA thing was horrible. It was the worst treaty in the history of the world. That's what he said. So, of course, he had to go in there and tinker with it. He doesn't know what he's doing, so he only made some slight changes to it. And then he renamed it the USMCA. And then he told us that that treaty was the greatest treaty that anybody ever signed. And Donald Trump did some wonderful things for America. Fact of the matter is, he really didn't change it. But here's the thing, and here's what I'm talking about where Donald Trump doesn't know anything. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't know anything. Donald Trump told us that treaty was the best treaty ever signed, and he took full responsibility for it. Apparently, he hasn't read that treaty because if you read that treaty, it says very specifically in signing that treaty, they all agree, all the parties, all the countries, Mexico, Canada, and the United States, they agree not to put tariffs on one another. And since it is a treaty, it is federal law. And if Donald Trump did impose a treaty on Canada or Mexico or both of them, he would be breaking federal law. Now, we don't know what the DOJ would even do with that. Probably fucking nothing. But the point of it is we need to let people know that Donald Trump doesn't even know what the fuck he did the first time. He wants to go the opposite way of what he agreed upon, a treaty that he said was the best treaty in the history of this country, and he wants to break federal law. I think there are going to be some problems with that. I've said before that I think that if Donald Trump gets bad enough, I would not be surprised if the Republicans themselves try to impeach him. And here's the thing, as I've said before, they needed him to win the presidency, but now that he's there and they got what they want, he really doesn't have a lot of value to them. And if he's going to embarrass them across the country and put the Republicans in a bad situation, I don't think they'll think twice about getting rid of him. And if he does impose these tariffs, if he does do that and breaks the law, they would have a valid reason for doing it. Now, I don't know how that's going to all shake out. And the thing about it is Donald Trump basically understands the problem here. But it doesn't matter to Donald Trump because, as I've said before, Donald Trump is a bully. So he just makes threats. And he thought these threats would make these leaders in the various countries shrink or back off. So, because he knows he's really in a tight spot and he can't really legally impose these tariffs, he makes the threat. And then what he does is he calls the president of Mexico, Scheinbaum, I think her name is. She's a formidable woman. She's a tough woman. She's smart. She's everything Donald Trump is not. And she is the leader of Mexico. Well, Donald Trump calls President Scheinbaum and talks to her for a while, and then comes back and says, well, looks like we're in good shape here. We had a nice talk with Scheinbaum. He no doubt wants to suggest that she demurred and backed off of Donald Trump's threats. And she's agreed to do this and that and the other thing, and we should be in good shape. This putting Donald Trump in a position to be able to say, well, we don't have to do the deportations or we don't have to do the tariffs. Well, unfortunately, President Scheinbaum heard that, came out and said, yeah, no, that didn't happen. It's all bullshit. We didn't change anything. We're still in the same spot we're in. So that embarrasses Donald Trump. It'll be interesting to see what kind of reaction he gives to that. But this is the kind of thing that's going to happen all the time. Donald Trump doesn't think, he just reacts. And when he reacts, he does stupid shit. He does it every day. And that's why I've said, my job here is going to be able to call out all the bullshit, all the lies, all the failures, all the stupidity, and just make fun of the motherfucker and all those people that support him every fucking day. And I got to be honest with you, I'm looking forward to it because that sounds fun. I enjoy that kind of shit. All right. It's just me today, as you can see. Other people got shit to do. It's Thanksgiving. But I'm here. And we have a number of emails that we're going to read and some stories and stuff. So we've got enough to keep us busy today. All right. First email goes like this. For some reason, your videos popped up on my YouTube feed shortly after the election, and I'm glad they did. I was listening to your podcast this morning with Ed while walking my dog, and I felt I wanted to comment on a couple of things you guys talked about. First thing was the comments concerning the Reagan administration, who I think was a terrible president. I've been telling people for years the attack on the middle class went in full swing during his presidency, and that is true. He busted unions, and as someone holding a private pilot's license, was especially disappointed in the handling of the ATC strike. The highly esteemed attorney F. Lee Bailey wrote a book entitled Cleared for Approach, in which he described how stressful that job was. It goes without saying these men and women had lives of tens of thousands of people in their hands on a daily basis, and he just fired them because they were trying to improve the ATC system. I remember that very well. I worked at a radio station and I was working with another guy who was working part time at the radio station. Full time, he was an air traffic controller. And when that whole situation went down, where he basically busted the union, this guy was clearly upset. I didn't know. I was 20 fucking years old. I don't know what bearing it had on anything. But looking back, this gentleman is absolutely right. Uh, Ronald Reagan was the start of the downhill slide for the middle class in this country. And we're talking 1980. So we're talking 44 years ago. It's been a long haul for these fucks, but they're finally starting to get some traction. The second subject you guys talked about was the plight of the coal miners in Kentucky. That struck a personal chord with me as well because both of my grandfathers worked as coal miners. My maternal grandfather was a miner in Kentucky, and my paternal grandfather was a miner in eastern Pennsylvania. Growing up, my cousins and I heard all the stories about the company store. He and my grandmother, my dad, and his siblings lived in a row house owned by the mining company. My grandmother shopped at the company store for groceries. Every aspect of their lives, save for Sunday Mass, was controlled by the mining company. At some point, we moved, or he moved his family to Western Pennsylvania, where I was born and raised. And then he worked in a foundry that made railroad car couplings. I grew up thinking he moved because of work. It wasn't until my dad passed did I learn that the real reason was. It seemed one of my grandfather's coworkers asked him to deliver a package to one of the miners who lived near my grandfather. He didn't know the package contained pamphlets urging the miners to join the UMW. While walking home, he was jumped and severely beaten by thugs hired by the company to thwart any effort at becoming unionized. Upon his recovery, he moved to Western Pennsylvania. In 1969 or 70, somewhere thereabout, Richard Harris and Sean Connery made a movie, The Molly Maguires, about the Irish miners in the late 1800s and how they were treated. The point of all this rambling is that the middle class is losing because they've lost any power they had. I'm not saying unions are perfect, they aren't, but they're better than nothing. I now live in Texas, which I've come to hate, which is a right to work state, which means you literally can be fired for no reason. I apologize for the rambling. I love your videos on YouTube and look forward to your podcast. Keep up the good work. Best regards, Bob. No, Bob, you weren't rambling. You gave us some valuable information, and that's what I like about doing the show and reading the emails and having the guests. I learn a lot from you folks. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, even though I may act like it sometimes. I'm not. I know enough about a lot of things, and I have opinions based on human nature as to what we can expect out of it. But there's a lot of details. I'm not a detail guy. I mean, I can if I've got one specific topic, I can get the details of that and express that. But on a whole, every day I read emails or have guests or see things on TikTok or see things in the news like AP and such, and it gives me something to take notice of and then kind of dig into it later. So the information you gave us there, Bob, is very valuable, and it's a great perspective, and I appreciate you taking the time to write it. And by all means, keep writing. All right. The next one says, "Hi, Mike. Really enjoyed your live feed tonight. Your mods are awesome. Please let me know if you ever need another. I'm a mod on Trill Will's live stream, by the way. I'm Daphne Farmer on YouTube. Anyway, thanks again for your wisdom tonight. So refreshing. Also, I would dig being a guest on your podcast. I have something specific I need to be talked off the ledge about." David. Well, David, you're more than welcome to be on the show. You obviously are a listener, and that's the only qualification. Be a listener, and you can come on the show. All you have to do is send me an email at rationalboomer@gmail.com, and we'll work out a time and a day and all that sort of things. I'd be happy to talk to you about whatever it is that you need to be talked off the ledge about. Uh, I appreciate that. That's nice of you to write, and thank you for the kind words. All right. Next one comes from Gary. "I listened to what Eric said about having Biden resign and have Kamala become president till January 20th. I think of one of the possible benefits, she could have Jack Smith issue indictments of Trump and members of Congress. Then, with immunity, she could have them all arrested and put in jail pending their trial. She would take over the narrative big time and make Trump's first 200 days a mess, trying to get his Congress out from under the indictments and pending trials. I would love to see her do this, but I don't think she's really inclined to stir up the hornet's nest. Thanks again for your daily dose of sanity. The oldest boomer, Gary." Yeah, it would be cool if she did that, but that's just not the kind of thing Democrats do. And that may be unfortunate. Like I've said before, when you're dealing with a bully, sometimes you have to lower yourself to their level, mainly because they don't understand anything else. They slap you in the mouth, you got to slap them the fuck back. I would love to see Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, whoever that might be, do something in retaliation before they're out of office. I just don't see it happening. I wish it did. I just don't see it happening. It's like all this talk about forensic investigations into the election. There's some funny business there. Well, there was some funny business. We know that. We know there were bomb threats at election centers in Georgia. We know they did a lot of stuff. The question is there any evidence? And then the second question is, will the Democrats and the DOJ do anything about it? And I'm not convinced they would unless it's something very egregious. And even then, they'll think twice. I mean, think about Merrick Garland now and all the stuff he could have done and didn't do. So you don't hear too much about these conspiracy theories. And I've said that all along. That's what these are. Until I see some evidence, they are simply conspiracy theories. Um, I would love to see it, Gary. I just don't see it happening. I'm sorry. I wish I could say that that's a possibility, but that's not something Kamala or Biden would do. There are norms when you're president of the United States, and most people follow those norms. Donald Trump does not. And, they'll say something like two wrongs don't make a right. Well, maybe so, but we're in a hell of a pickle right now, and we need to take extraordinary opportunities to deal with these motherfuckers. All right, the next one says, "Mike, I don't know why I have not thought of this. The House and Senate should use Donnie's own playbook on him and his treasonous buddies. Lots of nonsense lawsuits and delay on any proposals for changes to the Constitution, changes to laws that will hurt Americans, take away their rights, or destroy safety nets. It's worked for him forever. Why not use the same tactics to block his plans on those of his nominees from taking place? Keep them tied up in court until 2026 so we can retake the House and Senate. What's good for the goose, right? Like most geese, he's full of shit. Happy Thanksgiving week, Mike. Judy, Crazy Cat, Mom, PDS." Yeah, I agree with you. I've said this before. What are our options? A lot of people think that because Donald Trump won the presidency, because um, the Republicans won control of the Senate and they have control of the House. But now, what you have to understand about the House is that that margin is thinner than it was in the past 2 years. and they couldn't get anything done because they can't come together on anything. Anything that was accomplished, the Democrats had to help out, and it's even a thinner margin. And because Donald Trump is dumb, he plucked out three Republican reps from Congress to be in his cabinet. So that means that there's going to have to be special elections. Now, they're not going to be in the House while they're on the cabinet, and the special elections probably won't come till spring. So it's going to be incredibly tight in this thing. And if one or two should lose in the special elections, meaning the Republicans, well, they're fucked. And if we have control of the House, or at least enough to block things, they aren't going to be able to get much done. And in the Senate, as I've talked about before, the one thing we've always hated is now going to work to our advantage. That is the filibuster. Throw filibuster on fucking everything that comes through that the Republicans want. That means they will have to get 60 votes in the Senate. Now, I don't think that has any bearing. I think they carved out the point where, they want to appoint judges and stuff like that. I think it is a simple majority there, but everything else just shut the motherfuckers down. I agree with you, Judy. Turnabout is fair play. They spend a lot of time delaying and delaying and delaying. We have the same opportunity now. And unlike what I said about Biden and Kamala not doing things that are like the Republicans, I think what's going on out there now, people are so fearful about what's happening. I think you will see Congress do that. The Democrats in Congress actually do that. Now, I brought this up, this next email, I brought this up one time before, and I'm still waiting for a response. It says, "Hi, Mike. The last time we spoke, we agreed to meet up again on my show to talk about election results. Since we never got to do that yet, what would you say about coming on to my show to do something within the next week or two? Brian Wallenberg." Now, for those of you that were around at that time when Brian was on this show, you remember what happened. Brian is somebody I've known. Ed's known him too for 25, 30 years. We knew him back in the radio days, and he was a student at this time. Um, and so when I found out he was a Trumplefuck, I thought, good God, this guy is as dumb as a fucking mud fence. He really is. And I always kind of felt sorry for him from time to time because he tried so hard to be in radio and he never really had the tools to do it. He never worked in radio, even though he got training to do it. So then when he had this podcast and jumped on the Trump bandwagon, now he thinks he's somebody. When I had him on the show, I kicked his ass around pretty good, but I held back some because I knew he was kind of a simple, stupid motherfucker. When he just asked me to come on his show, at first I said, fuck it, who cares? Then I thought, you know what? I'm an angry motherfucker at this point. I won't be so compassionate if I talk to him again. We're going to have a lot of things to talk about. He maybe thinks that because Donald Trump won, that I'll be dejected and he'll be able to easily take me down. Well, he's mistaken. He will not be able to do that. He's going to deal with an angrier, louder, more obnoxious motherfucker this time. And I was pretty obnoxious the last time. So I said, sure, I'll be happy to do it, but be careful what you ask for. That's the last thing I sent to him. I have not heard back from him as yet. And it wouldn't surprise me if I did, if I never heard back from him. There was one other time I was supposed to be on the show. We started recording. It wasn't going well. And then whoops, there were some technical problems, which I find weird is because you record it ahead of time. It's not like it's live. If you can't record it one way, then you do it another way. It's not that hard to fix that situation. But Brian bailed on that one. After I kicked his ass, he really didn't come back at all. The punk ass bitch disappeared. But now his boy wins the election and now he thinks he's somebody. Well, I'd be happy to talk to you, Brian. I would be happy to talk to you. And who knows, it might be good for your ratings because I know you don't have many people listening to your podcast because, well, you're not very good. Maybe you'll get a few more listeners if I come on, but when I do come on, when it's all said and done, you're not going to be feeling good about it. I promise you. But let's do it. Let's fucking do it. I'd be happy to do it. I would ask him too if I could record it so that I could play it for my show. Or if he wanted to come on the show again, I need to get some shit off my chest. I'd be happy to have him on. I'm really not in the mood of debating with Trumplafucks, but this one kind of fucking bugs me. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if he has the courage. My guess is he doesn't. All right, next one comes from Gordon. It says, "Good morning, Boomer. I feel like I need to explain my comments I made on your latest YouTube live. I made a comment about insulting people. My comments that I made insulting Trumplafucks wasn't meant to mean that you should stop insulting. No fucking way. I was referring to the trolls that were insulting you, insulting them. I'm sorry it didn't translate well. Keep up the same shit. I love your shit, Gordon." Yeah, I get that from time to time, and after I responded to that, I think I got that because I recognized your name, and I thought, yeah, he doesn't mean it this way. But people will say that to me. How dare you call names? No one said I was sophisticated. No one said I was going to fight fair. As I've always said, these people are bullies, and they do some horrible shit. I get names called against me every day, all day in the DMs and in comments and stuff. Um, the higher road would be not to return the favor and not call names. But I'm not a higher road kind of guy. I mean, the Democrats have been doing that for some time, taking the higher road. And how has that worked out? As I've said before, and Judy said before, maybe we need to give them some of their own medicine. I've kind of done that with the TikToks and the Rational Boomer podcast, but I'm going to ramp it up a little bit. And does it make me look bad because I call people names, Trumplafuck names? Maybe, but I don't give a shit. Um, the people who listen to the show, who know what we do here, know exactly what I'm trying to do. You got to be louder and meaner than the biggest bully. And I feel confident that I can do that. So I will fucking do it every goddamn time. And no reason to apologize, Gordon. I understand what you're saying. And I'm not even going to shame them for calling names. I just expect that out of them. I hope they show us their lower side every time we talk to them because it allows me to do something that gets some shit off my chest. And I'm not proud of this, but being an asshole and calling names, I happen to be kind of good at it. So if they want to dip their toe into their territory while stepping into my territory, Godspeed to you. I'll be happy to play your fucking game on your level. And you know what? Even though I may be considered a Democrat, even though I may be considered a Democrat, and you think Democrats are weak and they're going to take the high road and they're going to be nice, I'm not that guy because I'm not really a Democrat. I'm just a guy tired of fucking people taking advantage of all of us, the middle class. I'm fighting all you motherfuckers, Republicans first and foremost. But if there's Democrats out there doing that shit too, bring it on, bitches, because I don't really care what your party is. I really don't give a fuck about that. Doesn't matter to me. We're in a fight, we're in a war right now. And the only people that seem to be standing up for us, the middle class, is us. I'm disappointed in the Democrats and what they did in this election. They should have been able to win this easily. Whether we're talking about Biden, Kamala. Kamala did a great job for the time she was given. Biden was a great president. That doesn't mean that I don't think this whole thing could have been handled differently, but hindsight is 2020. So I'm not gonna piss and moan and cry about that shit. Just not gonna do it. There's no point in it. We are where we are, and we've got to decide what we're going to do next. And I think we're in the process of doing it. But I got to tell you, if the Democrats come to me and say, we're going to do more of the same. I'm going to say, fuck yourself. You do you, I'll do me, and we'll see how it turns out. I don't know. I'm just very frustrated at this point because I think the reason Kamala lost wasn't because of the Republicans. They didn't do any better than they did last time in regards to the presidential election. The Democrats stepped on their dick. The Democrats fucked this up. I'm sorry to say that, but that is exactly what is true. So we got to figure out how to deal with that. Do these people that stepped on their own dicks realize how they fucked up this time? Do they know? Do they understand that? Will they act differently next time around? I don't know because I don't know that these people have learned anything at all. I don't think Republicans who vote for Donald Trump but don't like his behavior, I don't think they've learned anything at all. I think we have an epidemic of stupid in this country, and that's unfortunate. We can't educate those people in the next 2 years. We can't expect them to change their mindset. So, again, the only thing we can do is beat them at their own game, obstruct, delay, and pound them into submission, just like they did to the Democrats the last 4 years. Some people would say, I hope you're proud of doing it that way. I don't fucking care at this point. It's not a matter of pride, it's a matter of fucking winning. That's what we need to do. And if that's what we need to do, then I'm going to fucking do it. All right. We are going to take a quick break and we will be right back. All right. We continue on with emails. This one comes from Judy in Australia. Hi, Mike. I love your calming show. MAGA spread to Australia after the 2016 election when our prime minister copied USA climate change deniers, imposed agricultural tariffs, and cut defense spending so as to give it to the rich as tax cuts. Now it's happening again. They will probably be elected in the next election. The global influence is frightening. Judy, Australia. Yeah, that's the interesting thing. I guess a lot of us in America don't realize that other countries are dealing with similar problems. And I blame Donald Trump for it. People see the success that Donald Trump had in getting elected, and they decide they'll jump on board there. Not to mention the fact that there's just some evil, racist, sexist motherfuckers. So uh, you have my sympathy, and I apologize for the United States of America for making this a popular thing, I guess. This whole authoritarian, racist, sexist, misogynistic, anti Semitic bullshit. We are hearing about it all over the world at this point, and it's disappointing. But this can't go on forever. This can't continue forever. It's going on longer than I thought it might, but there's got to be an end. There's always a shift. All right, the next one says, I follow you on all media outlets that you're a part of. You are a good man. I listened to the podcast on November 24th. For you to reach out to that young lady about having illnesses, Crohn's disease, etc., for you to give her your email address so you could put her in contact with a medical professional who you have on your podcast is truly amazing and shows your character. Thank you, AMD. First, let me say this. Don't make me out to be such a hero here. It was more empathy than her heroism. It was on a live, and this woman was talking about all the issues she had, and she was having trouble getting the medications and the medical help that she needs. And obviously, I felt for her, and a lot of people felt for her too. When she said this, I didn't know really what to say. I'm not a doctor, or I'm nobody really. I'm just a guy sitting in my living room. The one thing I do have is a fairly large platform, for my sake anyway. And I thought, well, I got to do something. Now, me giving her my email address, that's no big deal. Everybody's got my email address. Anybody can email me. It's rationalboomer@gmail.com. It's the one email that I look at the most, and I try to respond to all those emails either by putting them on the show or, in a direct email or something like that. So it's it's not a big deal for me to give her my email address. As far as putting her in contact with a medical professional, that's not what I was doing either. What I was going to do is put her in contact with a guest that's on the program a lot. Her name is Old Soul. She's not a medical professional. However, she does work in um, medical. She works with a very large medical insurance agency. But the thing about Old Soul is she knows a lot and she knows a lot of people and she researches shit and she's good at it. So I knew that if I put her in touch with Old Soul, she would be better off than anything I could possibly do. So that's all I was trying to do. Don't make me out to be any bigger hero than that. That's all I can do. I wish I could do more. I wish I knew more about that, but I don't. So I thought I'd give her to the one person I know that knows a lot more about this than I do, that is pretty formidable in her own right. Now, that said, I did offer that to this woman, and I have yet to hear from the woman. So nothing has really been done. I don't know what kind of condition or situation she's in. I'd love to hand her off to Old Soul, but I have not heard from her as yet. So I can only do so much. So get back to me if she contacts me and I can actually get her some help. Then I'll take a little credit. At this point, I don't deserve any credit as yet. Moving on. Hello, Mike. This is me, Glenda, longtime listener. I sadly just heard Holly on the pod on your podcast. I was too very sick with Crohn's since like 2010. Couldn't figure out what was wrong at first, but the doctors at MUSC in Charleston, South Carolina, are angels and saved my life. I too couldn't work, had no insurance, but still they saved me. I then got Obamacare or the ACA, worked part time, got sick again, went from 190 pounds to 120 pounds. I wish Holly could go to Charleston. I did qualify for disability plus SSI because I was born in 1960, like you. So now I'm in Texas caring for my 93-year-old mom with Lewy body dementia and Parkinson's, but I'm doing great, gaining weight as I type, LOL. Please tell Holly not to give up. There's help out there after a few surgeries. I'm Crohn's free, eat everything I can now, LOL. Well, thank you, Glenda. It's nice to hear that you've had some success with it, and I hope, against hope, that Holly is listening or somehow finds some help. It's disappointing and it's saddening to have a young woman who's dealing with those sorts of things and has nowhere to turn, especially now with Donald Trump becoming the president. There may be fewer places to turn. All right. Hi, Mike. Thanks for your great show. We tried to subsidize our Australian rice farmers after imposing tariffs on our trading partners. However, massive irrigation just raised our salty water table and killed all the trees, and koalas had no habitat. Regards, Judy in Australia. Judy was very prolific this time around. Here's another one from Judy. Hi, Mike. Love your show. In Australia, we had our own version of Trump Prime Minister Scott Morrison. He went to visit Trump and came back and made himself Minister for Health, Finance, Industry, Science, Energy, and Resources, Home Affairs, and Treasury portfolios without the public's knowledge, and in some cases without alerting the exiting minister. Also, Morrison had himself appointed as Joint Resources Minister in order to be able to overrule a decision on gas exploration by incumbent Resource Minister. I used to teach civics and have lots of stories that would make your hair stand on end. Judy, Australia. Thank you, Judy. Like you said, it's starting to spread around the world, and it's disconcerting to say the least. I appreciate the emails, Judy. Keep them coming. Next one from Cheryl Lynn. She says, "Hi, Mike. I just want to wish you and your family a happy and blessed Thanksgiving. May God bless you and much aloha." Cheryl Lynn. Well, Cheryl, I wish the same for you and your family as well. I wish the same for everybody that listens to the Rational Boomer podcast. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to actually listen. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine that this many people would actually give a shit about what I say. But since it's turned out better than I expected, I'm very appreciative. And I hope everybody not only has a great Thanksgiving, that these next 4 years will be much better than anybody expects. All right, the next one says, "Hey, Boomer, you two guys were great today. There was a lot of great points made. First off, it was Gibson, not Fender, that hit Trump with the cease and desist order. You're right. I checked that out. I'm not a guitar guy. So it was Gibson, not Fender. But Gibson's a pretty sizable company, too. Donnie's guitar that he was pushing was an unauthorized copy of Gibson's iconic Les Paul. If there's one thing you don't do to Gibson is infringe on their brand. Another point was the tariffs. Another creator made a very clear point. It's not just money. He has imposed tariffs on Mexico and Canada for a very good reason, probably pushed by Moscow. These are left leaning governments. They too have a population that are idiots as well. When things get bad because of the tariffs, though, the media and their social media, their idiots will get all fucked up on the misinformation and try to bring down the government. And of course, will be replaced with a bunch of Trump types who, of course, will all be compromised and controlled by forces on the outside who will wreck the country. Will talked about the Trump tards as going to get for their loyalty. They'll get a knife in their back, as he brought up Hitler getting rid of most loyal and most knowledgeable, as he did during the Night of the Long Knives, when he got rid of Ernst Röhm and the SA. Lastly, the louder the homophobes, the deeper in the closet they are, which is why the Republican Party, the SPP, the Sexual Predator Party, they get hysterical about the subject. At this point, I'm waiting to see how bad things get. I'm keeping my eyes and ears open because some things are going to get ugly and we have to be realistic about it. Don't underestimate these people and their agenda. Don't count their certain things are going to continue and will make things right because they won't. Prepare. Z Man. Z Man's kind of a Debbie Downer sometimes. I get what you're saying. I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying, but you know me, I'm a half glass full guy. I always think there's a way out of things, a resolution to certain problems, and I'm hoping I'm right in that situation. But your warning is well taken, Z Man. I appreciate it as always. All right. This comes from Joe. Short one. You did it, Mike. 400,000. Next stop, 500K. Happy Thanksgivings, Joe. What he's talking about is something I talked about on the podcast the other day. I started on TikTok about 4 years ago on November 19th. And as of a couple of days ago, I reached the level of followers of 400,000 followers, which is absolutely crazy in my mind. I don't know how that's even possible. I was hoping to get lucky enough to get maybe 10,000 people after a period of time. The funny thing about getting these followers, it's had a steady growth. A lot of people come on here and they get a big jump, 100,000 real quick, or it takes forever to get 2,000. Mine's been pretty steady. Every year I gain about 100,000 followers. Doesn't go down, doesn't go up real quickly with some folks, but I'm appreciative of it. I absolutely am. I think it's wonderful. And as I said before, it's not so much an accomplishment for me. I think why it's important is that we're proving the fact that there are a lot of people of a like mind. And if we can pull them together, maybe we get a louder voice, maybe we get some more power. Next one comes from Paul. Congratulations, Mike, hitting 400K followers and 20 million, he says, views. It was actually likes. Not as for a one-man operation. Keep on trucking and let's roll over the haversacking, racking, fracking orange turd. Thanks, Paul. I'm with you with that, Paul. I'm on board with that motherfucker. Next one comes from Jace from Texas. You know Jace, he's been on the program a number of times. He was on recently. Hey, Mike, just a little note to wish you and your family happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for all you do and the optimism you put out. I know the election didn't turn out like we hoped. That's life. You don't give up, you keep going, and that's what we're doing now. Thanks for having me on the show and looking forward to future episodes and being on again. Your friend, Jace from Texas. I always enjoy having Jace from Texas. I feel bad for her sometimes because Texas and Florida are some shithole places, which is sad to say because both those places are beautiful places, really. A lot of great people. I enjoyed going to Florida with some regularity. I enjoyed going to Texas occasionally, but I won't go there now. I don't feel like I want to give them any of my money while they're treating women the way they are, treating people in general, but particularly women. So yeah, I appreciate Jason's input. I don't know a lot about what's going on in Texas, but clearly there's some important things going on down there. As we talked about, there was the two women that died because they couldn't get the reproductive health care. And then we just had a third one. I mean, how much is it going to take to get people to say, what the fuck is going on here? We got to fix this situation. Hopefully soon, but I don't have a lot of confidence in Texas at this point. They they haven't proven to be caring at all for their constituents. Well, Donald Trump was celebrating Thanksgiving today, and as normally the case, Donald Trump, president elect, has to put out his Thanksgiving greetings. But he did it in Donald Trump form. Just wouldn't be Thanksgiving without a wild message on social media from Donald Trump attacking his opponents. Yeah, this happy holiday, and he's got to use that platform to still attack people. You won the motherfucking election, you dipshit motherfucker. Just shut up and do something. You talk a good game. You tell us all the things you're going to do. Just fucking do it. And if you make a mistake or you fail or you look stupid in the process, I'll be here to fucking point that out. So, anyway, early Thursday, the president elect, as he has been prone to do in recent years, wished a happy Thanksgiving to all on his Truth Social. Then came the traditional Thanksgiving rant as he went on to write, including to the radical left lunatics who have worked so hard to destroy our country, but who have miserably failed and will always fail because their ideas and policies are so hopelessly bad, and that the great people of our nation just gave a landslide victory to those who make America great again. First and foremost, here's the President of the United States. Wrote the longest run on sentence I've ever seen. Do you know nothing about punctuation? Have you never seen a fucking period? That was one long sentence. That was a paragraph, which was one sentence. And in as far as you winning a landslide, please, motherfucker, it wasn't a landslide. As I said earlier, you won by a margin of 1.6%. That is the second lowest margin in the history of this country. The previous margin was 0.7% by Richard Nixon. So don't get too cocky. You didn't win a fucking mandate. You barely slipped by and you cheated in the process to get it done. Now, Trump did win the electoral vote and beat Democratic rival Kamala Harris in the popular vote. In the 2024 presidential election, but Trump's latter total is currently about 49%, thus not a majority. He goes on to say, don't worry, our country will be soon respected, productive, fair, and strong. And you will be more than ever before proud to be an American, Trump concluded this message. And he's going to keep saying these things. He's the kind of guy that kicks you in the nuts and says, I'm just such a nice guy. I treat you so well. He knows it's going to go badly, as I talked about earlier. these tariffs if somehow he does it. And I'm not convinced he can pull it off. Not only because he has some stumbling blocks, but because he's incompetent. Think about what happened in the first term that he had. He didn't get much accomplished. He talked a good game. He was going to do all kinds of stuff, build a wall, get an infrastructure plan, but he did neither of those things. And the only thing he accomplished was getting a tax break for the wealthy. Donald Trump doesn't have it in him to get anything done. He just won't do it. He can't do it. So I'm confident that between the obstruction from the Democrats, the ranting from those of us that point out every time he fucking fails, and his own personal incompetence, not to mention the pushback from the Republicans, he's not going to get much done. It's going to be hard for him. He didn't get a mandate. He doesn't have full control of the Senate and the House. And he's going to have some problems. And then he's going to whine and cry about it and try to blame the Democrats. But Donnie, here's the deal. You have the presidency, you have the majority in the Senate, you have the majority in the House. Anything that goes wrong, it's on you, motherfuckers. And you can count on us pointing it out every fucking day. All right, multiple Democratic lawmakers from Connecticut said they were targeted by bomb threats at their home on Thanksgiving Day. Oh, big surprise. We're dealing with these mouth breathing motherfuckers. That's what they know. What I don't understand is why are they making threats against Democrats when they fucking won? It's because that's all they know how to do. They don't know how to govern. They don't know how to create or make anything happen. All they can do is fight. And I think they're a little confused at this point because there's really nothing to fight about. I have no interest in fighting with them. Well, I'll kick Brian Wallenberg's ass, but I don't really have any need to debate with them. What's the debate? They won, so they get to show us how good a job they're going to do, which they won't. U.S. Reps Jim Himes, Johanna Hayes, John Larson, and Joe Courtney said that they were notified of bomb threats targeting their homes Thursday, but that no devices were found. Of course, there weren't. These are pussy ass bitches. They talk a good game, they don't do anything. That doesn't mean you can ignore this shit. It's just more chaos that they're creating. A spokesperson for Senator Chris Murphy stated that the legislator received a threat at his home as well, saying the incident appears to be part of a coordinated effort involving multiple members of Congress and public figures. It sounds like it might be retribution because you remember you heard me talk about this in a previous show that there were reports of threats against nominees that Donald Trump has put up. Now, whether that's true or not, who the fuck knows? But if that actually happened to those nominees, it's right in line with the way they do business, and they're going to punch back. I'm a little concerned about the Democrats more than I am the Republicans. The Republicans tend to talk shit. Democrats are a little different situation if that's who's threatening the nominees. People are very concerned, very upset. They see the sky is falling or they think it is, and they're going to react out of fear. And that's one of the things that concern me the most for the Democrats. I would say stay calm, fight hard, and let's just beat these motherfuckers. I understand why people are willing to do it and want to do it, but it doesn't really do any good. It doesn't work. Anyway, in a statement shared online, Himes said he was notified of a bomb threat targeting my home where I was celebrating Thanksgiving with my family. Thankfully, after a swift and thorough response from the United States Capitol Police, the Greenwich Police Department, and the Stamford Police Department, no evidence of a bomb was found. He added, there is no place for political violence in this country, and I hope that we may all continue through the holiday season with peace and civility. Well, not as long as Trumplafucks are involved. In her own statement, Hayes said that she was notified by the Walcott Police Department on Thursday morning that they received a threatening email stating a pipe bomb had been placed in the mailbox at my home. At this time, the investigation is ongoing. Hayes continued. I think law enforcement or thank law enforcement for their swift attention to this matter. Their actions demonstrate there is no place in our country for political violence. Yeah, there's going to be more of this. These motherfuckers won, and they're still whining and crying. Um, we know, of course, Democrats suffered three major disappointments in the 2024 election. Vice President Kamala Harris lost to President elect Donald Trump. Republicans flipped the U.S. Senate, and the Republicans held their small majority in the U.S. House of Representatives. Republicans are calling this a trifecta. To make matters worse, Democrat strategists and organizers are lamenting Republicans still have a 6-3 supermajority in the U.S. Supreme Court, and Trump may have a chance to move the court even farther to the right if any seats become available during his forthcoming second term. But in an article on November 27th, ABC News reporter Benjamin Siegel and Tal Axelrod stressed that Speaker Mike Johnson is still overseeing a small House majority, and Johnson won't have a lot of wiggle room when Trump returns to the White House in January. President elect Trump is set to take office on January 20th with a razor thin GOP majority in the House of Representatives that offers Republicans barely any margin of error. Siegel and Axelrod report overnight Wednesday one of two outstanding races in California tipped toward Democrats, giving Adam Gray roughly a 182 vote lead over GOP Rep. John Duarte in the inland 13th Congressional District in the San Joaquin Valley. In California's 45th Congressional District, anchored in Orange and Los Angeles counties, Democrat Derek Tran has a roughly 600 vote lead over Republican Representative Michelle Steele. The reporters add that in Iowa, GOP Rep. Marionette Miller Meeks is up by 800 votes in Iowa's second congressional district, though a recount is likely to change the result of the competitive district. So things are happening out there. The House of Representatives is going to be a very thin margin. Well, as we are winding things down here for the Rational Boomer podcast on this Thanksgiving night, you're listening to it on Black Friday, of course. I was talking about the president of Mexico earlier in her interaction with Donald Trump. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said Thursday that she's confident that a tariff war with the United States can be averted. That's interesting. Why do you think she said that? Well, because we know she talked to Donald Trump on the phone. As much as Donald Trump led us to believe that she backed down off of everything, agreed to whatever Donald Trump told her, she said the opposite. She said nothing has changed. And I'm sure in talking to Donald Trump, she realized this is a weak motherfucker. And I'll be honest with you, President Sheinbaum of Mexico is a formidable woman. She's smart, she's serious, and she knows what the hell she's doing. And she knows who the fuck she's dealing with, a freaking clown. But her statement the day after she held a phone call with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump did not make clear who had offered what. There will be no potential tariff war, Sheinbaum said flatly when asked about the issue at her daily morning news briefing. On Wednesday, Trump wrote that Sheinbaum had agreed to stop unauthorized migration across the border in the United States. She wrote on her social media account the same day that migrants and caravans are taken care of before they reach the border. But whether that constituted a promise, a pledge, or a simple statement of reality remains unclear. In recent years, migrants who have been unable to obtain permission to cross Mexico have joined together in caravans to walk or hitchhike north toward the U.S. border, seeking safety in numbers. In fact, apart from the first caravans in 2018 and 2019, which were provided buses to ride part of the way, north, no caravans has ever reached the border walking or hitchhiking in any cohesive way, which is totally the opposite of what the Republicans try to tell us. For years, migrant caravans have often been blocked, harassed, or prevented from hitching rides by Mexican police and migration agents. They have also frequently been rounded up or returned to areas near the Guatemalan border. So Scheinbaum's statement appears to reflect a reality that has been true for some time. And Donald Trump will grasp at any fucking straw. He says, you got to stop them in Mexico. And they've been doing that all along. In his mind, he thinks he won. And he's going to go with that. But Claudia Scheinbaum isn't going to let him get away with it. See, this is typical. Donald Trump continually complained about the border, and so did all the Republicans. But the fact of the matter is, the border is in much better condition than when Donald Trump was president. Things have been done. More could have been done if Donald Trump allowed it, but he refused to allow the Senate to vote on the bipartisan border bill. If there are problems at the border, it lays squarely at the feet of Donald Trump and the Republican Party. Now, U.S. President Joe Biden on Thursday said he hoped Trump would rethink his plan to impose tariffs on Mexico and Canada, saying it could screw up relationships with close allies. I hope he rethinks it. I think it's a counterproductive thing to do, he told reporters in Massachusetts. Now, Trump had earlier threatened to impose 25% tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada until those countries satisfactorily stopped immigration and the flow of illegal drugs such as fentanyl into the United States, which really isn't a thing. It isn't a problem. Most of the drugs come from inside the United States. And I guess I hadn't heard about the big problems coming out of Canada. I live in Minnesota, the northern part of our state borders Canada. I don't hear anybody complaining about the masses coming across the border from Canada into Mexico. Despite Scheinbaum's confidence, she described the phone conversation with Trump as excellent. I bet. Many Mexicans worry that the U.S. tariffs could affect a wide range of iconic Mexican products and threaten the entire regional economies. In Western Mexico, no crop supplies an income for so many small growers as avocados. And Mexico is the main supplier of the fruit for the U.S. market. But avocado growers, pickers, and packers worry that U.S. consumers faced with 25% higher prices may just skip guacamole. Well, I don't know if they'll skip it, but they'll pay more money and they will bitch about it. Or maybe it will be low on their choices when it comes to deciding what kind of vegetables and fruits you decide to buy. So Claudia Scheinbaum of Mexico seems to think that there isn't going to be a trade war down in Mexico. And I'm guessing she's probably right. There is nothing positive that will come out of it. Donald Trump will look like a bigger dumbass than he already does. And the Republican Party, they're not going to be feeling this too much. They're going to want to shut his ass down and not allow him to do that. Still, as we know, November 5th, I have been wrong. I can be wrong. I'm just taking a look at the facts here and taking my best guesstimate here. A lot of people are fearful about what will happen if these tariffs are put in place, and they have good reason to. Because if somehow he finds a way, even though under his own plan it's illegal, if somehow he finds a way to do it, and somehow the Senate and the House agree to it, because remember, tariffs can't be unilaterally placed by a president. Now, I suppose an executive order might do something temporary, but the Congress is going to put a stop to this. It'll do nothing but hurt the people involved, and it will hurt the Republican Party immensely. And you know as well as I do, they don't want to do that. All right, we are going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope you have a great day. We will talk to you again tomorrow.